Jake Morrison floated through the main corridor of Harmony Station, carrying a clear container filled with butterflies. The colorful insects fluttered around inside their temporary home, completely unaware they were the first Earth creatures to travel this far from home. Jake smiled as he watched them. In just a few minutes, he would show these beautiful animals to his alien friends. 3 months had passed since humans first met aliens from other worlds. The meeting changed everything for Earth. Suddenly, humans were not alone in the universe. The Galactic Cooperative welcomed Earth with open arms, amazed by the planet's incredible variety of life. Most alien worlds had simple ecosystems with only a few types of animals and plants. Earth was different. Earth was special. Jake pushed off from the wall and drifted toward the meeting room. At 28 years old, he never imagined he would become Earth's first xenobiologist. He studied marine life in Earth's oceans before the aliens came. Now he spent his days teaching alien visitors about Earth's amazing creatures. The meeting room doors slid open with a soft hiss. Jake's 3 closest alien friends were already waiting for him. They gathered around the large viewing screen every week for what they called Jake's Earth Show. Each alien was more different from humans than Jake could have ever imagined before. First contact. Zethkar stood near the window, his crystal body catching the light from distant stars. The alien looked like a walking sculpture made of living diamonds. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Zethkar came from a world where his people grew from crystal formations deep underground. They lived for thousands of years and thought very slowly about everything. "Hello, Jake," Zethkar said, his crystal face somehow managing to smile. "We are excited to see what Earth life you will share today." Blooming Moss of 7 Suns sat in the corner, though calling it sitting was not quite right. The plant-like alien had roots that spread across the floor and a trunk that rose up like a small tree. Colorful flowers bloomed and closed along his branches as he spoke. Everyone called him Moss because his full name took too long to say. Moss came from a world covered in vast forests where his people lived as part of giant tree networks that shared thoughts and feelings. "The butterflies look beautiful, Jake," Moss said, his voice sounding like rustling leaves. "Their colors remind me of the sunset flowers on my home world." The third alien, Kix, floated inside a special suit filled with different colored gases. Kix looked like a living cloud of purple and blue mist. He came from a gas giant planet where his people lived in the upper atmosphere, riding wind currents and feeding on electrical storms. His voice came through speakers on his suit and sounded like distant thunder. "These creatures fly without gas bladders," Kix rumbled with amazement. "How do such small beings create enough lift?" Jake grinned and activated the room's artificial gravity field at low power. The butterflies in the container began to flutter around normally instead of floating. Jake opened the container carefully and several butterflies flew out into the room. "They use wings," Jake explained, pointing to the thin, colorful wing membranes. "The wings beat very fast and push air down, which lifts them up. These butterflies can fly for hundreds of miles during their migration." Zethkar made soft chiming sounds of wonder. On his world, nothing flew except tiny crystal dust particles in the wind. Moss stretched his branches toward the butterflies, careful not to touch them. His people could fly by releasing spores into the air, but they had never seen anything like these delicate flying creatures. One butterfly landed on Kix's containment suit. The alien's gaseous form swirled with excitement inside the transparent material. "Incredible," Kix whispered. "On my world, only we and the Storm Riders can fly. But these tiny creatures master the air as well as we do." Jake felt proud as he watched his friends marvel at something humans considered common. Over the past 3 months, he had shown them many Earth animals. They loved watching videos of dolphins playing in the ocean. They were amazed by hummingbirds hovering at flowers. They gasped in wonder at the bright colors of tropical fish. Every week, more aliens came to Jake's presentations. Word spread throughout the Galactic Cooperative about Earth's incredible diversity of life. Most alien worlds had only a few dozen species of animals. Earth had millions. The aliens called Earth a garden paradise and humans gentle gardeners of the cosmos. Lisa Carter, Jake's supervisor, entered the room carrying a data pad. She was a diplomat who made sure Jake's presentations went smoothly, and didn't accidentally offend any alien cultures. At 32, Lisa had more experience dealing with different alien species than almost any other human. "Sorry I'm late," Lisa said, nodding politely to the three aliens. "I just received word from the Galactic Cooperative Headquarters. They want to fast-track Earth's membership application." Jake's eyes widened. "Really? That's amazing news." "The Council is impressed by humanity's peaceful nature and Earth's biological wealth," Lisa continued. "They want to establish permanent research stations to study Earth's ecosystems. They believe humans can teach the galaxy about living in harmony with diverse life forms." Zethkar chimed happily. "This is wonderful news. Earth deserves to join the cooperative quickly. Your world shows us what life can become when it grows without limits." Moss rustled his leaves in agreement. "Your species cares for so many other forms of life. This is rare in the galaxy. Most worlds have only one or two intelligent species. Earth protects thousands of different creatures." Jake felt a warm glow of pride. Humanity had worried about how aliens would see Earth. Would they think humans were primitive? Would they consider Earth's technology too simple? Instead, the aliens admired Earth for something humans had always taken for granted: the incredible variety of life on their home planet. The butterflies continued to flutter around the room as Jake began explaining their life cycle. He told his alien friends how butterflies started as caterpillars, built cocoons, and transformed into flying creatures. The aliens listened with fascination, asking questions about every detail. As the presentation ended, and Jake carefully collected the butterflies back into their container, he felt grateful for his role as Earth's biological ambassador. He was helping build bridges between species separated by vast distances and completely different evolutionary histories. Little did Jake know that in just a few weeks, his enthusiasm for sharing Earth's biological wonders would lead to consequences no one could have predicted. Jake floated in his laboratory aboard Harmony Station, surrounded by screens showing different Earth animals. He had been working for 3 hours preparing his next presentation for the alien visitors. This week would be special because representatives from 12 different alien species were coming to see his Earth life showcase. The lab was his favorite place on the station. Containers lined the walls, each holding different Earth creatures he had brought to space. Small fish swam in one tank. Colorful beetles crawled around in another. A terrarium in the corner housed several species of lizards. Jake made sure all the animals were comfortable and healthy, far from their home planet. His computer chimed with an incoming message. Jake pushed off from his desk and drifted over to read it. The message came from Zethkar, his crystal friend. "Jake, we are very excited about your presentation tomorrow. The other species have heard wonderful things about Earth's creatures. They want to know about your world's apex predators. What are the strongest hunters on Earth? We wish to understand how such gentle beings as humans survived alongside dangerous creatures." Jake smiled as he read the message. The aliens always asked interesting questions about Earth. They came from worlds where life was much simpler. Most alien planets had only one or two types of predators. Earth had hundreds of different hunting animals, each with special ways of catching prey. Jake began making a list of Earth's top predators: lions, tigers, sharks, eagles, wolves, bears. He had videos of all these animals and knew the aliens would find them fascinating. But as he worked, Jake remembered something from his old marine biology studies. Earth's most effective predators were not always the biggest or strongest ones. He opened his research files and began reading about different hunting strategies. Some predators used speed, others used strength, some hunted in groups. But the most interesting hunters used special tricks that seemed almost impossible to believe. Jake's fingers moved across his keyboard as he searched through scientific databases. He found articles about cuckoo birds that tricked other birds into raising their babies. He read about parasitic fish that attached themselves to larger fish. He discovered information about wasps that controlled the minds of other insects. One article caught his attention. It was about a wasp called the Tarantula hawk. Jake had heard of it before but never studied it closely. As he read, his eyes grew wide with amazement. The Tarantula hawk wasp was not very big, only about 2 inches long. but it hunted spiders much larger than itself, including huge tarantulas. The wasp had a special way of hunting that seemed like something from a science fiction story. Jake read more about the wasp's hunting method. First, it found a large spider. Then it attacked the spider in a fierce battle. The wasp was smaller, but it was faster and smarter. It dodged the spider's attacks and waited for the right moment to strike. When the wasp got its chance, it stung the spider in exactly the right spot. The sting did not kill the spider. Instead, it paralyzed the spider completely. The spider could not move, but it was still alive. It could still feel everything that happened to it. The wasp then dragged the helpless spider to a hole in the ground. The spider was much heavier than the wasp, but the wasp was determined. It pulled and pushed until it got the spider into the burrow. Next, the wasp laid a single egg on the paralyzed spider. Then it covered the burrow with dirt and flew away. The spider lay in the dark hole, unable to move, waiting for what came next. When the wasp egg hatched, the baby wasp was hungry. It began to eat the spider while the spider was still alive. The baby wasp was very smart about how it ate. It saved the spider's most important organs for last, keeping the spider alive and fresh for as long as possible. Jake stared at his screen in amazement. This was incredible. The wasp had evolved a hunting strategy that was more complex than anything he had ever seen. It was like a tiny alien creature using advanced science to catch its prey. He began searching for videos of tarantula hawk wasps hunting. He found several research documentaries that showed the entire process. Jake watched them over and over, fascinated by every detail. Jake's door chimed. Lisa Carter floated into the lab, carrying her usual data pad and coffee bulb. She looked around at all the screens showing different predators. "Working hard on tomorrow's presentation?" Lisa asked, sipping her coffee carefully in the low gravity. "Lisa, you have to see this," Jake said excitedly. He turned one of his screens toward her. "I found the most amazing predator on Earth. It's called a tarantula hawk wasp." Lisa drifted closer to look at the screen. "A wasp?" "Jake, remember what happened last time you showed the aliens anything that might upset them? The plant people got very worried when you showed them videos of animals eating grass." "This is different," Jake said. "This wasp is a perfect example of specialized evolution. It shows how life on Earth developed incredible survival strategies. The aliens will love learning about it." Lisa frowned as she watched the video of a wasp dragging a paralyzed spider. "Are you sure about this, Jake? It looks pretty intense. Maybe you should stick to the safer predators like lions and sharks." "But that's exactly why this is so interesting," Jake replied. "Lions and sharks are big and obvious. The tarantula hawk shows how even small creatures can be amazing hunters. It proves that Earth's biodiversity includes incredible solutions to survival problems." Jake spent the rest of the day editing video clips and preparing his presentation. He created detailed explanations of how the wasp's venom worked. He found scientific papers about the wasp's behavior. He even included information about how many similar wasps lived on Earth. As Jake worked, he grew more excited about sharing this discovery with his alien friends. He imagined how impressed they would be by the wasp's hunting strategy. He thought about the interesting discussions they would have about evolution and survival. Jake finished his presentation late that night. He looked at his completed work with satisfaction. Tomorrow he would show the galaxy's representatives one of Earth's most amazing creatures. He was sure they would find the tarantula hawk wasp as fascinating as he did. Jake turned off his computer and prepared for sleep, completely, unaware that his enthusiasm for Earth's incredible predators was about to change everything. The main conference hall of Harmony Station buzzed with excited alien voices. Jake had never seen so many different species in one room before. 12 alien representatives floated, sat, or stood around the large viewing screen, each more unusual than the last. Besides his 3 regular friends, Jake saw aliens he had only met briefly before. There was a tall, thin creature that looked like it was made of flowing water. Another alien resembled a giant butterfly with 6 wings that changed colors constantly. In the back corner, a rock-like being sat perfectly still, with glowing eyes that blinked very slowly. Jake checked his presentation one more time on his tablet. He felt excited and a little nervous. This was his biggest audience yet, and he wanted to make a good impression. Lisa Carter sat in the front row, giving him an encouraging smile. Commander Paul Bennett welcomed everyone to the presentation. The station commander was a serious man who usually stayed busy with important station business. Today, he had made time to watch Jake's show because of all the important alien visitors. Today, Jake Morrison will show us Earth's apex predators, Commander Bennett announced. These are the strongest and most successful hunters on humanity's homeworld. Jake stood up and activated the large screen. The first image showed a male lion standing on the African plains, his golden mane flowing in the wind. This is a lion, Jake began. Lions are one of Earth's most famous predators. They live in groups called prides and hunt large animals like zebras and antelopes. The aliens leaned forward with interest. Zethkar chimed softly in appreciation of the lion's beauty. Moss rustled his leaves as he watched the big cat move across the screen. Jake showed more videos of lions hunting together, working as a team to bring down their prey. The aliens asked questions about how lions communicated and shared their food. They seemed impressed but not frightened by the big cats. Next, Jake showed them sharks swimming in Earth's oceans. The aliens watched in fascination as great white sharks glided through the water with perfect grace. Jake explained how sharks had lived in Earth's oceans for millions of years, surviving when many other creatures went extinct. "Remarkable," said the water-like alien in a voice that sounded like gentle waves. "On my world, our ocean predators are much smaller and simpler." Jake continued with eagles soaring through mountain skies, their sharp eyes searching for prey. Far below, he showed wolves working together to hunt deer in snowy forests. Each predator amazed the aliens, but they compared them to similar creatures from their own worlds. "These are all very impressive," Kix rumbled from inside his gas-filled suit. "But they hunt in ways we understand. Strength, speed, sharp teeth, and claws. Are there any Earth predators that use different methods?" Jake smiled. This was the perfect introduction to his special discovery. "Actually, yes. Earth has many predators that use very different hunting strategies. Some of our most effective hunters are not big or strong at all. They use intelligence and specialized techniques." He clicked to his next slide, showing a close-up image of a tarantula hawk wasp. The insect's body gleamed with metallic blue and black colors. Its wings sparkled in the sunlight. "This is a tarantula hawk wasp," Jake said proudly. "It's only about 2 inches long, but it hunts spiders much larger than itself, including giant tarantulas." The alien audience grew quiet. Several of them leaned forward to get a better look at the screen. Jake did not notice the change in their mood. He was too excited about sharing his discovery. "The tarantula hawk has developed one of the most amazing hunting strategies on Earth," Jake continued. "First, it searches for a large spider, sometimes a tarantula with a leg span of 6 inches or more." Jake played a video showing a tarantula hawk wasp approaching a large, hairy tarantula. The spider was clearly much bigger and stronger than the wasp, but the wasp showed no fear. "When the wasp finds its target, it attacks," Jake explained as the video showed the wasp and spider beginning to fight. The spider tries to bite the wasp with its fangs, but the wasp is too fast and smart. Zethkar began making a high-pitched, ringing sound. Moss started shedding leaves rapidly, which Jake had never seen before. But Jake was focused on his presentation and did not notice their distress. "The wasp waits for the perfect moment," Jake said, as the video showed the wasp dodging the spider's attacks. Then it strikes with its stinger, injecting venom directly into the spider's nervous system. The video showed the moment of the sting. The large spider suddenly stopped moving, its legs curling up beneath its body. "Now here's the really amazing part," Jake said, his voice full of scientific wonder. "The wasp's venom doesn't kill the spider. Instead, it paralyzes the spider completely while keeping it alive. The spider can't move, but it can still feel everything that happens to it." Several aliens began making distressed sounds. The butterfly-like creature's wings stopped changing colors and turned a dull gray. The rock-like alien's glowing eyes started flashing rapidly. Jake continued, not realizing the growing alarm in his audience. Next, The Wasp drags the paralyzed spider to a burrow. This is incredible to watch because the spider is much heavier than the Wasp, but the Wasp is determined to get its prey underground. The video showed the small Wasp pulling and pushing the helpless spider across the ground and into a hole in the earth. Once the spider is safely in the burrow, the Wasp lays a single egg on the spider's body, Jake explained. Then it seals the burrow and flies away. But the spider's ordeal is just beginning. Commander Bennett noticed that several aliens were starting to move toward the exits. He looked at Lisa Carter with concern, but Jake kept talking. When the wasp egg hatches, the baby wasp needs food, Jake said as he showed a scientific diagram. It begins eating the spider while the spider is still alive. But here's the most amazing part. The baby wasp eats very carefully. It avoids the spider's vital organs at first, keeping the spider alive and fresh for as long as possible. Moss let out a sound like wind through dead leaves and began moving toward the door on his root system. Zethkar was ringing so loudly that other aliens covered their hearing organs. The baby wasp continues eating the spider from the inside out for several weeks. Jake continued, completely absorbed in the scientific details. Only at the very end does it consume the spider's heart and brain, finally ending the spider's suffering. Jake looked up from his presentation, expecting to see amazed faces. Instead, he saw aliens backing away from the screen in obvious terror. Some were already at the exits. Others were making distress calls in their own languages. Wait, Jake said, confused. This is just one example. Earth has thousands of parasitoid species that use similar hunting strategies. There are wasps that control ants' minds, flies that eat other insects from the inside, But Jake never finished his sentence. The remaining aliens rushed toward the exits, their various forms of communication creating a chaos of frightened sounds. Within minutes, the conference hall was nearly empty except for Jake, Lisa, and Commander Bennett. Jake stood alone by the screen, still showing the image of the beautiful tarantula hawk Wasp, completely bewildered by what had just happened. Jake sat in his empty laboratory, staring at his computer screen in disbelief. It had been 6 hours since his presentation ended in disaster, and the messages kept flooding in. Every few minutes, another alien species sent urgent communications to Harmony Station. None of the messages were good news. Lisa Carter floated into the lab, her face pale and worried. She carried a thick data pad filled with diplomatic reports from across the galaxy. Commander Bennett followed close behind her, looking more serious than Jake had ever seen him. Jake, we need to talk, Lisa said quietly. She activated the lab's privacy shields to make sure no one could listen to their conversation. I don't understand what happened, Jake said, turning away from his computer. I was just showing them an interesting Earth creature. Why did everyone panic? Commander Bennett pulled up a chair and sat down heavily. Jake, the aliens didn't just panic during your presentation. They're still panicking. The news about Earth's parasitoid horror creatures is spreading through every star system in the Galactic Cooperative. Lisa activated her data pad and began reading from the reports. 3 hours ago, the Veltar Consortium issued an emergency alert about humans. They're calling Earth a predator evolution nightmare world. The Verdant Collective has declared all contact with humans temporarily suspended. Jake felt sick to his stomach. But it's just one type of wasp. Earth has millions of different species. Most of them are completely harmless. That's part of the problem, Commander Bennett said. You mentioned that Earth has thousands of parasitoid species. The aliens are trying to understand what that means for a planet's ecosystem. Lisa continued reading from her reports. The gas dwellers from the Nebula Confederacy have called an emergency council meeting. They want to discuss whether humans should be reclassified as a potential threat species. Jake's computer chimed with another incoming message. This one came from an alien research station near the edge of human space. Jake opened it and read the contents, his heart sinking with every word. They're evacuating the joint research station at Alpha Centauri, Jake said quietly. All alien personnel are leaving human space immediately. Over the next few hours, Jake learned just how badly his presentation had affected the galaxy's view of humanity. The aliens had spent months thinking of Earth as a peaceful garden world inhabited by gentle creatures. Jake's butterfly presentations and dolphin videos had convinced them that humans were lucky to live in paradise. The tarantula hawk Wasp changed everything. The aliens began to question every assumption they had made about Earth and humanity. If such creatures existed on Earth, what did that say about the humans who evolved alongside them? Lisa showed Jake a translated report from Zethkar's home world. The crystal beings had called an emergency session of their ruling council. They were trying to understand how any intelligent species could develop normally on a world with parasitoid predators. They're scared, Jake, Lisa explained. Most alien worlds have simple predator relationships. Big creatures eat smaller creatures. Fast creatures catch slow creatures. But parasitoids are different. They represent a level of evolutionary cruelty that most aliens have never encountered. Jake read more reports as they came in. The aliens were researching everything they could find about Earth's ecosystem. They discovered information about cuckoo birds that tricked other birds into raising their babies. They learned about parasitic fungi that controlled insects' minds. They found out about wasps that turned caterpillars into living food storage. Each new discovery made the situation worse. The aliens began to see Earth not as a garden paradise, but as a world where evolution had created increasingly horrible survival strategies. They wondered how humans could remain sane while living alongside such creatures. Commander Bennett received an urgent communication from Earth's government. World leaders were demanding to know why humanity's first contact with aliens was falling apart. The president wanted immediate answers about why trade agreements were being canceled and why alien ambassadors were fleeing Earth's solar system. "What am I supposed to tell them?" Commander Bennett asked. That our xenobiologist accidentally terrified the galaxy by showing them a wasp? Jake tried desperately to send messages to his alien friends, hoping to explain that Earth's parasitoids were just part of nature's balance. He wrote detailed explanations about how these creatures actually helped control pest populations. He described how humans had learned to appreciate the complexity of Earth's ecosystem. But his messages only made things worse. When Jake mentioned that humans sometimes kept tarantulas as pets, the aliens became even more frightened. How could any sane species voluntarily live with creatures that had such terrible natural enemies? Jake's explanation that humans found spiders fascinating rather than terrifying convinced the aliens that humans had been psychologically damaged by their harsh evolutionary environment. Some alien psychologists theorized that humans had developed emotional problems from living in constant fear of parasitoid attacks. Lisa received a communication from the Galactic Cooperative's central government. They were officially reviewing humanity's membership application. The fast-track approval process had been completely canceled. "They're not just scared of Earth's creatures," Lisa explained to Jake. "They're scared of us. They think living on Earth has made humans into something dangerous." The water-like aliens sent a report describing their analysis of human behavior. They noted that humans seemed unusually comfortable with violence in their entertainment. They pointed out that human children played games that involved hunting and fighting. They wondered if exposure to Earth's brutal ecosystem had made humans naturally aggressive. Jake realized that his enthusiasm for Earth's biodiversity had backfired completely. By showing the aliens how complex and efficient Earth's predators could be, he had accidentally revealed that humans came from what the galaxy considered a horror world. Late that evening, Jake received one final message that broke his heart. It came from Moss, his plant-like friend who had always been fascinated by Earth's creatures. "Dear Jake," the message read, "we understand now why humans are so strong and brave. You had to become strong to survive on your world. But we are not strong like you. We cannot look at your creatures without feeling afraid. We are sorry, but we must go home now. Maybe someday we will be brave enough to be your friends again." Jake turned off his computer and floated in the dark laboratory, surrounded by the Earth creatures he had brought to space. The butterflies still fluttered in their container, beautiful and innocent. The fish still swam peacefully in their tank. These gentle creatures had made the aliens happy just weeks ago. Now, because of one wasp, the entire galaxy saw Earth as a world of nightmares. Jake had tried to share the wonder of his home planet, but instead he had accidentally shown the universe that humans came from a place too terrible for most species to understand. Outside his laboratory window, the stars looked the same as always. But Jake knew that behind those distant lights, entire civilizations were discussing whether humanity was too dangerous to be part of their peaceful galaxy. 3 days after Jake's presentation, Harmony Station felt like a ghost ship floating in space. The busy corridors that once buzzed with alien voices now echoed with empty silence. Jake walked through the station, looking at the abandoned meeting rooms where his friends used to gather. Every alien had left. The last ship departed that morning, carrying the final group of researchers back to their homeworlds. Jake watched from the observation deck as the vessel disappeared into the stars, taking with it any hope of repairing the damage he had caused. Lisa Carter found Jake sitting alone in the main conference hall, staring at the blank viewing screen, where he had given his disastrous presentation. She carried 2 cups of coffee and sat down beside him. "The official statement came through this morning," Lisa said quietly, handing Jake one of the cups. "The Galactic Cooperative has reclassified humanity from peaceful garden species to survival horror evolutionary product. Approach with extreme caution." Jake took a sip of his coffee, but it tasted bitter. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means they've established a 50-light-year exclusion zone around all human space," Lisa explained. "No alien ships are allowed to come closer than that without special permission from their governments. All trade agreements have been suspended indefinitely." Commander Bennett joined them in the conference hall, looking tired after 3 days of emergency communications with Earth. The station commander sat down heavily and rubbed his forehead. "Earth's government wants someone to blame," Bennett said. "The president is furious that our first contact with aliens has ended in complete isolation. The Secretary of Defense is asking if we should prepare for possible alien attacks." Jake felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. "This is all my fault. I destroyed humanity's chance to join the galaxy because I got excited about a wasp." "It's not that simple, Jake," Lisa said gently. "The cultural gap between us and them was bigger than anyone realized. Maybe this was always going to happen eventually." Jake spent the next few weeks helping to shut down the cultural exchange programs. He carefully packed up all the Earth creatures he had brought to space, preparing to send them home. The butterflies that had once amazed his alien friends now seemed like painful reminders of what humanity had lost. As Jake worked in his laboratory, he tried to understand what had gone so wrong. He read through all the alien reports about Earth that had been translated into human languages. The more he learned about alien psychology, the more he realized how different humans really were from the rest of the galaxy. Most alien species had evolved on worlds with simple ecosystems. Their predators were straightforward. Big animals ate smaller animals. Fast animals caught slow animals. The concept of parasitoids, creatures that kept their prey alive while slowly consuming them, was completely foreign to their experience. To the aliens, Earth seemed like a world where evolution had gone insane. They could not understand how any intelligent species could develop normally in such a brutal environment. They began to believe that humans had survived by becoming as cruel and cunning as their planet's worst predators. Jake found reports where alien psychologists analyzed human behavior, looking for signs of the damage they believed Earth had caused. They pointed to human movies and books that featured violence and conflict. They noted that human children played games involving hunting and fighting. They decided that humans had been shaped by their harsh world into something fundamentally different from other intelligent species. The irony was not lost on Jake. The same evolutionary pressures that had created the tarantula hawk, Wasp, had also created human empathy, curiosity, and the desire to protect weaker species. But the aliens could not see past their fear to understand this connection. 6 months after the Great Exodus, Jake received an unexpected message. The communication was heavily encrypted and came through multiple relay stations to hide its origin. When Jake decoded it, he saw that it came from Zethkar, his crystal friend. Jake's hands shook as he read the message. "Dear Jake, I hope this message finds you well. I write to you in secret, as most of my people still fear contact with humans. But I wanted you to know that not all of us have forgotten our friendship. A small group of us have been studying Earth from a distance. We have learned much about your world's ecosystem in the past months. We fled because we feared you had become monsters. We now realize you became something perhaps more remarkable. Your world is both paradise and hell at the same time. The same forces that created your terrible wasps also created your beautiful butterflies. The same evolution that produced parasitoids also produced humans who choose to protect and care for other species. We begin to understand that Earth's complexity made humans strong in ways we never imagined. You survived in a world of nightmares and somehow kept your kindness. You lived alongside creatures that terrify us. Yet you remain gentle enough to befriend aliens from distant stars. Most of my people are not ready to return. The fear runs too deep in species that never faced such challenges. But some of us are starting to see that Earth's horrors and Earth's beauties are two sides of the same incredible process. I am working with a few brave researchers from other worlds. We want to study Earth's biodiversity from a safe distance. Perhaps we can learn to understand what humans already know, that complexity and beauty can come from the same source, even when that source seems frightening. Do not give up hope, my friend. The galaxy may not be ready to welcome humans back today, but knowledge grows slowly. Someday others may see what we are beginning to understand, that humans are not products of horror, but survivors who found beauty in a complex world. Jake read the message 3 times before he finally understood what Zethkar was trying to tell him. The aliens had not rejected humanity because humans were evil or dangerous. They had rejected humanity because humans represented something the galaxy was not ready to comprehend. Jake began working on a new project. Instead of trying to show aliens Earth's gentlest creatures, he started documenting the full complexity of Earth's ecosystem. He created detailed studies showing how predators and prey lived in balance, how parasitoids controlled pest populations, and how even the most brutal survival strategies served important purposes in nature's grand design. Jake established a long-distance research exchange program, sharing Earth's biological knowledge with the few alien scientists brave enough to study it. The work was slow and difficult, but it gave Jake hope. Maybe the galaxy would never fully accept humans, but at least some aliens were trying to understand what made Earth special. 1 year after his disastrous presentation, Jake stood in his laboratory holding a container with a single tarantula, hawk wasp. The beautiful insect moved slowly inside its transparent home, its metallic body catching the light from distant stars. Jake no longer saw the wasp as a monster. He saw it as a perfect example of life's incredible ability to find solutions to survival problems. The same evolutionary pressure that created this efficient predator had also created humans who could look at the wasp with scientific wonder instead of fear. Earth was isolated now, surrounded by a galaxy that considered humans too dangerous to approach. But Jake knew that isolation was not permanent. Knowledge grew, understanding developed, and fear could be overcome with patience and time. Jake smiled as he watched the wasp, thinking about all the aliens who might someday be brave enough to see what he saw. Not a creature of horror, but a beautiful example of life's endless creativity, even in the darkest corners of evolution.